is Humanist Perspective, presented by the New Orleans Secular Humanist Association, following our few principles of humanism.
We're committed to the use of science and reason for understanding the universe and for solving human problems. We're skeptical of untested claims of knowledge, but we're open to new ideas.
We are concerned with securing justice and fairness in society and in ending intolerance and discrimination. We are committed to the total separation of religion and government.
We affirm humanism as a realistic alternative to the theologies of despair and the ideologies of violence. We reject the concept of an afterlife and believe in living a full and rewarding life here and now.
We value and respect each individual's right to judge and lead their lives according to their own position, as long as it's respectful of other people, living in a free society.
We hope you enjoy today's program and others in the weeks to follow.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the New Orleans Humanist Perspective. My name is Charlotte Klasson, president of the New Orleans Secular Humanist Association, which is the sponsor of this program, and I will be your host for today's show. If you would like to know more about NOSHA, which happens to be in our 19th year as a local organization, please go to our website, www.nosha.info, where you can learn more about secular humanism and find out about our upcoming activities. Let me introduce our guest today. It is Fred Mathews, and I'll tell you a little bit about him, and then we'll jump right in. Fred grew up in Orlando, Florida, back before Disney World had broken ground. You spent your teenage years in Colorado Springs, and following enlistment in the Marine Corps, lived in Northern California as a young adult. And that's where your introduction to pottery began, at Butte College, which is in Oroville, California, which is right near Paradise, that has been in the news with the horrific wildfires. So I guess you're very familiar with that whole area.
Mm-hmm.
And
my youngest daughter was born at Feather River Hospital, which has been in the news so much with this burning.
Oh my goodness! Well, it is just really heartbreaking, and so I guess. And now you are a web application developer.
Yes.
So. Well, let's. I'd like to start out. If you'd like to tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you found NOSHA. You are a NOSHA member, and what prompted you to seek us out?
Well, as best I can remember, I discovered the Facebook page shortly after I initially started a Facebook profile myself, and stumbled upon it and saw the monthly meeting and thought, wow, these are the people I've been wanting to meet, waiting to see.
How long have you been in the New Orleans area?
I've been here 22 years now.
Oh, okay, so quite a while.
Yes.
So you just discovered us just out of an interest at the time?
4 years ago or so.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And did something prompt you to do that? Was there just something that you had decided that, or something happened that said, I know I need to look for a secular group?
No, not that I can recall. As I think we had discussed, I didn't grow up in a religious household, but I really tried to believe, but it's just, the story is just too much to believe. It's and
so you were kind of skeptical your whole life, I guess, or when you started becoming aware of religion and
And then, as I say, I saw the secular humanists and thought, kinfolk.
Yeah. Well, and you had mentioned that after your two daughters were born, you kind of tried to make an effort in religion just so that they would.
Right. As a parent, you're responsible for them, and I didn't want them to go to hell because I was too lazy to get up and go to church on Sundays. But it's just religion is this too hard to believe.
Oh, I completely understand. I guess. What do you feel was the most? The most significant part of it that you wrestled with, that was kind of the turning point in just thinking about religion? Was it just considering the stories? Was it just organized ideology, or?
Well, I think it's a combination of an omnipotent God, all-knowing, combined with watching how the religions unfold here on earth. Between the two, it's just I can't agree with the philosophy.
Right.
You know, I think you live and you die. That's the extent of it. There isn't an afterlife. I find it hard to believe when you look at the vastness of the universe, how huge it is. If there's an omnipotent creator who made this in the 70, 80 years that we're here, we can impress this person or this thing so much that we're invited to live in this eternal happy place. I just don't see where,
it was just
we
just
have that
impossible
ability.
to believe. Okay. Well, I certainly understand your sentiments, and I know a lot of people come into NOSHA having had very religious lives, and somewhere in their being older, they discovered it, and some people are skeptical their whole life, and it sounds like you kind of were aware of that yourself. So,
right. I mean, you try hard to believe. You wonder, why am I the only one who can't get this? All of my friends believe. My best friend in high school read the Bible twice, and that took me aback.
Oh my goodness!
But I just could never sign on, and you wonder, why can't I get it when everybody else does? And you just come to a point where you go, it's just too difficult a story to believe. And then you start to rationalize it and think it out, and you realize this is all made up. All made up.
I can certainly appreciate that, and I know that given the fact that you kind of have a Renaissance maybe philosophy, having been interested in what we're here to talk about, pottery, but that you are a web application developer, so that's very different. So I was expecting you to have been an engineer because you enjoyed working with the mechanics of it. A lot of glass making and things, have very elaborate machinery and equipment that they use, and so I had always thought, well, then that must be what your background is, and I was a little just amazed that you are doing something that in many ways is very different than hands-on art. So would you like to maybe talk about how, obviously you had it early, so I guess it had just always been an interest working with pottery.
Well, I've wondered about that too. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I knew I wanted to go to college. So I moved to Northern California, where another high school buddy of mine lived, and I knew there was a college there. And I started out at the junior college, and you have to get so many elective units. Well, when I learned there was a ceramics department, it just felt like, oh, finally, I'm supposed to be there. It just felt
so
like
it was almost very religious in a way.
And I can't recall why I waited or why I had that feeling of wanting or needing to get into ceramics.
Yeah.
For all I can think of is that when I was a kid, it hit me that you make things out of mud and you put it in a fire. Well, those are two things that appeal to a little boy.
Right. True.
So
that is true.
It just felt like, I finally am going to get to fill in that piece that's been missing that I've been waiting for.
So it had a very, I guess, visceral completion for you,
right.
that
I
you were
just
getting
knew
to.
That was where I was supposed to be.
Oh, okay. Okay. So it was something that you saw it very much as this is a hobby, and yet did you study computers in college? And
no, I didn't. My degree is in health and community services.
Oh, okay.
But I was always the guy who had the computer first, and when at all my employers, I was the guy that they'd go to for the IT questions, and sooner or later, I just sort of morphed over into the IT department and became a full-time programmer. And I love programming. Sitting at the computer and pounding away at code for 4 hours, and then you hit that button and it goes. Yeah, and that's a great feeling.
Okay. So something that is very not a hands-on tactile thing. I mean, it is that you're doing keyboarding, and yet it's not like a physical thing where you're lifting or moving around.
Right.
So that is okay. So that's kind of an interesting balance. So I guess the ceramics was something that was there from the many years ago, from the very beginning. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I was curious. I have on something that you've made, and I know we'll get into that. Tell us about the kinds of things you make. Like, have you just always made these throughout all of your time, or have you gone through periods where I made nothing but this and then switched to this? And
well, actually, when I lived in Northern California and had access to the kilns and the clay, I was very active in it. But then I graduated, and life got in the way. And it wasn't until I moved here that I got back into it. I sought out kilns and clay and got back into it. I make a lot of cups. I really like to make cups because they're easy to give away. I don't sell my stuff. I just give it away.
Right.
And who doesn't want a cup?
True. A cup always comes in handy because cups will break, and so you're always going to need a new one.
Right. And I recognize that not everything I make is a work of art. So the secondary cups, they'll either be made into a planter or you remember that Thomas came from Unity recently? Afterwards, I think later that same week, I gave them about 24 cups.
Oh, so they actually have some of your pieces that are going to good use.
Right.
Okay, like to a very helpful thing. That must be really nice, because being able to have cups in their home when they're setting up homes, that's a wonderful thing. I know that we will be showing some examples of your work as we go along in our discussion, so that you'll notice that we'll have some images up, and if there's anything you did want to say as you would see them, please do, but that way people can see kind of the examples of what you do. What goes into, like, obviously you like cups, they're practical, they have a purpose, and like you said, they're something that people enjoy getting because they have a real purpose. When you're making pendants and things like that, I know you've done some things that are necklaces and boleros.
Right, I've made a couple of bolo ties.
Bolo ties. And
what
goes into
magnets.
making? The magnets, right? There's similar design. So what goes into making pendants?
Well, I work in two different temperatures of clay. I work in a low fire clay and a high fire clay, and the pendants and the refrigerator magnets they tend to be on the low fire clay, and I roll out a slab, and then I've got a die like a cookie cutter that I'll punch out a couple of dozen, and then until recently, I had taken black underglaze and I had painted on the happy human symbol.
Right. Right. I did want to make sure we said that this is the happy humanist symbol, like you see on those necklaces and what are on the cups. Did you just stumble on that as a way to express being a secular person, the happy humanist emblem, or?
Well, here's what happened. I read Living the Secular Life by Phil Zuckerberg, I believe, is the author.
Okay.
And one of my takeaways from that was that as a group, we don't have the same symbols and the same rituals that religion has.
Correct. Yes.
And I thought, well, I can help with that. I was already making pendants and giving them away to the kids, on the block. And I went out to Pinterest, and saw that someone else was already making similar medallions, pendants.
Okay.
And so, I thought, well, here, I can make some of these.
Be
right.
part of that, yeah.
I hang mine from my rearview mirror in my car.
Okay. No, that's a very good idea. I always try to wear, when I realized at our program this month I had forgotten. That's usually kind of a ritual, but you know how it is. Sometimes you just forget. But I always try to wear one when we're on when I'm doing my show. It's been really kind of delightful because I know people are kind of excited when they see it because it is something that's just like a little present or so.
Good.
Do you have other designs that you like, or other colors and just graphic designs that you like to use? Or
outside of the secular humanist cups and pendants, I tend to get designs from like the backs of chairs. You go to the bank and there'll be an interesting back of a chair, or in the restaurant.
Well, that's neat.
Or recently I saw a coworker at the end of the hall, and he had on a shirt that was blue with 2 green stripes and then a bunch of orange diamonds above each of the green stripes. And I made that cup, and it turned out really great. But when I got closer to him, I didn't have my glasses on. It was a Tabasco shirt, and all of the little orange diamonds were actually little Tabasco bottles.
Okay. Well, see, there you go. I mean, I guess it's inspiration, and I know that so often artists, and that's part of, I think, what makes it interesting. That artists who are creating something that just inspires them to say, I'm going to go and do something. And it won't be the exact same thing that I saw, but it inspired me. And so inspiration can come from the strangest places and the little mistakes that become very, iconic and interesting to people. You're starting to do, is that a
spoon rest.
A spoon rest. Oh, okay, that's right. I remember you mentioning this, doing some different things that would kind of have function for people.
Right. I tend to stay with functional pottery.
Right.
Okay. I don't know many people use vases really.
That just had popped in my head that I thought, a vase people do. I mean, of course, now I guess people do. They do use them. Vase. I mean, it can be, kind of a pretty thing, but you're right. Something that you use always will kind of win out, I guess. Yeah.
Right. I should crank out a bunch of these because then people can just put them on their stoves.
Yeah. Do you sign the back of these or the bottom?
I didn't on that one, but normally I do.
Oh, okay.
And actually, it's a signal to myself because when I work in low fire clay, I put my name in print. But when I work in high fire clay, then I put it in cursive.
Oh, okay.
And that way I know
what.
Right, because it all looks the same until you fire it and glaze it.
I see. So different processes for different things and what they're going to be used for. I see. Right. Okay. Well, then tell us about, because I assume you use a gas kiln.
Actually, no.
Oh, you don't? Oh,
no.
Okay. Do you have a gas kiln? That was my question, because I had...
I'm with the understanding that on this side of the lake, you can only have electric kilns. You cannot have a fuel-fired kiln, unless I think you're a university, because I know that Delgado does.
Oh.
So,
and is it because of the potential for...
It must be. It must be. Okay. So, electric kilns have gotten... they're really advanced these days. I have one that's programmable.
So very high tech.
Right, you punch everything in and let it go.
Okay. Oh, well, I guess
it takes about 8 hours for a kiln firing, and then of course you have to let it cool overnight.
Okay. Oh, I see. So these cups or any piece that goes in, it takes 8 hours. It's not just depending on what you're making.
Pretty much. Low fire is doesn't get quite as hot.
Okay.
High fire clay like this, I fired this past Sunday, and this goes up to about 2,200 degrees.
Oh, wow.
So whenever I give someone a cup, I say, it's dishwasher safe, nothing you can do.
Yeah, you're never gonna reach anything that would be over that. Okay.
And the low fire goes to about 1,860 or so. Actually, things get fired twice. First you form it, and it's just the hard clay. You can break it and snap it. So you fire it once to about 1,940 to 50 degrees, and that makes it, hard. But it's not until you then put a glaze on it and fire it again that the glaze makes the outside glass, like a glass. And actually, the high fire clay, the clay body itself is vitrified, which means it's glass-like and it won't absorb water. So low fire will absorb water. Like a terracotta pot is, that red clay, it absorbs water. It's not fired high enough to where the clay body itself is vitrified.
Oh, okay. So everything you do is vitrified, or
no,
this would not
the
be.
Low stuff.
Okay, so this could be affected by water then.
Right.
Oh, okay. Because
Right. So if there was a crack in that glaze, some water could get in there behind it.
Okay, I see.
I don't think it would hurt it, but.
Right. I see. And this is, of course, because you don't want water to get into it.
Right.
For obvious reasons. Well, okay. I guess what's interesting, of course, do you find that over the years, I guess you've probably given away hundreds of cups, and I assume there are people who always think, well, Fred's going to give me a cup again this year.
Actually, my little brother thinks I'm his personal potter. It's like the king's potter or something. Right.
He likes having it because then he can make an order of what he would like. Okay.
He'll text me, hey, can you make 9 of these before Christmas?
I see, because for him it becomes something that he can
give away, like to his coworkers.
I see. Okay. Well, that's really that. And they're showing some of the other. I guess that's an ornament. Is that
Christmas
correct?
ornament?
Christmas ornaments, right? Because you'd said that was something that you were thinking would be kind of fun.
Now that was taken from the outline of a boss of mine's granddaughter's hand.
Oh, okay.
So it's made from a little girl's hand.
Okay, right.
And that's an atomic bowl that I made.
Oh, so kind of a sciencey kind of design, I guess.
Kind of 70s, 60s, 70s.
Right. Okay. And are all of these your own drawings? I mean, is that how you're creating this? As far as that's painted on there, or
glazed?
Glazed.
That was something that I had seen and duplicated it. For the most part.
So you just duplicated the image as if it was like a. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Well, very interesting. That was one thing that I was curious about. If you, how artistic you like to get with, with your work. And obviously the Happy Humanist is kind of its own, general design. I see. We have pictures of your kiln. So
there's the wheel.
The wheel. The wheel. I'm sorry. Right. The wheel. And so you're actually hand forming things? Oh, okay. So it's not just something that's like a pre-made design that you can use
Although
easily.
I do work in some of that. That's a liquid clay called slip, and I have molds.
Okay, that can make
those are all low fire.
Oh, okay. So I see. So you have you work with both a kiln and a pottery wheel. So I guess that took some getting used to and some talent, I guess, because you always see people kind of doing something and then it flops over. And shows that and I've always thought that would be fun just to try, just to say I know what it's like to feel, what that feels like to create something that just comes out of it, on the table. So
well, it does take some practice, but it's not insurmountable. Okay. But it is a good feeling, when you start to lift the walls and you get that you get that feeling between your fingers where you know just how much you can move that clay without it getting out of kilter and then going out of control.
Right. Well, I think that's such an interesting thing, because I guess for you it's probably, if it's been a hobby your whole life, then it's probably had some kind of almost therapeutic value to you.
Yes, it's nice to on the weekends come home and throw. It takes my mind off the programming, which sometimes can get very involved, and sometimes you'll leave work and you didn't quite get something fixed like you wanted, and so it's a nice alternative. So
it's almost like a physical exercise in a way. Okay, because I think that is. I just think that's an interesting angle of it, that hobbies hobby should have maybe and I use the word therapeutic, but just kind of a mentally healthy thing, allowing you to relax and and of course something that allows you to use your hands and everything must really be enjoyable, like a different thing. So you're expressing it differently than using a keyboard.
Now anything can happen in a kiln, I can tell you, but opening that kiln the next morning, that's a great feeling. It's almost like Christmas every time.
Yeah, because I was going to say to you, we've kind of laugh at it, that do you ever have moments where you're somehow in your mind praying that when you open it, it turns out well?
No, that's back to that praying.
Oh, okay, yeah. You just kind of know
praying.
that it's it's
maybe a lot of hoping, but like I say, I know that not all of my stuff comes out, beautiful and perfect, and you never know what's going to happen.
One of the images that we have up is actually quite beautiful in the sense that you selected the color and the design, right?
Yes, I got that idea from if you drive around town, you see people have those flags out. It's got the red band at the top and the blue band at the bottom, and it has 3 golden fleur-de-lis.
Right, the Louisiana.
And I thought, wow, here's how I can make sort of a Louisiana cup.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, that is really wonderful. I can see that that would be something that people would really appreciate. I mean, in terms of a decorative piece or something. Yeah.
Now, those haven't been fired yet. Once those are fired, the gray background, the gray clay body will become white. A pure white.
Okay.
So, and then
how interesting.
And then they would need to be clear glazed and fired again.
Right. Okay.
And then they'd be ready to go.
Wow. Well, this is just kind of neat because you're kind of your own cottage industry of creating very unique and kind of memorable and probably a lot of people think of you when they use it, who are close to you and would say, and I'm Fred's cup. So that's kind of a neat legacy.
And in theory, they will outlive me.
That's true. As long. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that pottery pieces or things like that that are created do outlive their creator. Well, I wanted to know, we're kind of with 1 minute left, that we should, is there anything about your experience or even just your philosophy being a secular person that you would like to mention? I had kind of joked about this being kind of a religious experience when you discovered it, so
yeah, it's true. I do turn to it, to relax. I think as a secular humanist, you need to enjoy your life now, because it can end at any moment.
Right. That is very true. That is so very true. That is, and you're doing something that's lasting and bringing kind of a peace and a meaning and memory to your hobby. So many times people do things that really, it's just for their enjoyment, that they can't really share with somebody else. And I think that is a good sentiment for this time of the year. So on that, we have run out of time, but thank you for joining us, Fred. I really enjoyed it, and we hope you enjoyed it, and you'll be back again soon for another show.
Thank you for having me.